the Sword of Mercury, and today we're going to be talking about breath, breath, breath. And no, not like when it smells bad or smells good or you have a breath mint. I'm talking about it as a form of conveying energy, or the life force that runs the system, that facilitates respiration, the bodily processes of digestion, the processes of circulating energy through the body in order to exercise, for example, or the factors that control metabolism, or the factors that encompass how energized or alert you are, buoyancy of your mind, all of those factors. So, today we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about the 5 winds. And as you can see, the 5 winds are over here. Let's get our little tappy marker. Tappy. Tappy. So, essentially there are 5 winds that govern the flow of energy in the body. And the one you guys are probably the most familiar with is called, of course, Prana, which translates to life force. And this is essentially what all of these are a form of in the body. They're a form of life force energy, but they're in different states. So, Prana, as you can see here, it represents upward and inward moving energy. And the opposite of that is what's known as Apana, which is the outward and downward moving energy. So if you think of it, when I breathe, so when I breathe in, that's Prana. When I breathe out, that is Apana. And the same goes for bodily processes. You can think of when you relieve toxins from your body, that is also Apana, because you are releasing what the body no longer requires or no longer needs. Or when you detoxify the system in any way. That's why also this is related to the concept of breaking karma, Apana, or overcoming karma, because typically karma is generated from stagnant energy in the body or in some body, because essentially all the energy is stored in some either in your physical body or the subtle bodies, which then cause the energy to be stuck or be transmuted out. So, and when that happens, then you have a release of energy, and that block is no longer impeding you. But it's typically tied to things that are emotional barriers or some other form. Anyway, going back to the other forms of prana or life force here, we have Udana, which is a vortex movement that goes upwards. So you can almost think of it like a tornado pushing energy upwards towards the top of your head. And I wouldn't say the opposite, but a similar force to that that's in the lower part of the body, which is a different type of spiral movement, which is Samana. And this relates to digestion and all those other processes, and it relates to a lot to the concept of fire, and it helps balance all the other forms of prana or life force in the body or energy in the body. And you can think of this as almost just a circular vortex, like a whirlpool of energy. You can think of Samana, but it doesn't necessarily pull the force down like Udana pulls it up in a vortex motion. This is just a spiral motion in which gets circulated around in a circular movement or even spherical movement. So, the last one is of course Vyana, which relates to the wind itself, and it really relates to the energy being carried throughout all the parts of your body. So it's tied a lot to circulation of the blood and things like blood pressure. And I'm not going to get into the uses of all this, but typically this one is is in relation to the circulatory system. So, but the reason why it is in the middle is because it circulates all these forms throughout all the parts of the body. So these are the 5 winds, and what I have here is simply the 2 opposing currents, which creates energy in the body. And I'm going to get into how this kind of relates to the processes of thoughts and consciousness. So you can almost think of these forces that relate to this combination action here under the winds, where you see winds over here. When you have that little spark at the top with the 2 forms of energy underneath it, that's the collision which produces that explosion of energy, which is essentially, you can think of the process that's going on. In here, you have things creating electrical currents, which we call thoughts, but they occur because there is a force that is occurring, a collision or a separation of energy based on you forming a thought. So when you form a thought, there is a release of energy. And essentially the reason why people say, especially you can relate this to like Bruce Lee, for example, he says be like water, and why a lot of martial artists have a mindset of being like water or something in akin to water, or Jesus is known to walk on water. The reason why is because water is intrinsically linked to the movement of conscious energy in some way. And you can think of it almost like this. Think of it like you have a pond, and when the pond is still, when there's no ripples in the pond, you have just a still pond in which the energy is most efficiently used, and you have a clear picture of what is occurring in that pond. You have a clear reflection in the water, because there's no ripples, there's no disruptions, there's no stones being tossed in the pond. So the pond is still, and when the pond is still, you can see the reflection clearly. But when you have a thought, which is not a derivative of the divine, because presence is the derivative of the divine, being in the present moment, being conscious or mindful, rather in the present moment. That's why so many meditators try to practice mindfulness, because you're being in the present moment, and then you're not disrupting this pool of energy, you're not using energy unnecessarily. But when you don't, and when your pond, that is your mind, is more susceptible to ripples, or when it causes ripples by you having a thought. When you have a thought, you produce ripples in the pond, and that pond, the ripples that are created, you can think of as vibrations in the water that are linked to electrochemical energy, which is essentially what is created in the brain when you have a thought. Like, imagine, or I should say contemplate, if you have a thought, typically it's linked to you imagining something. So think of even this diagram, you might associate like the lines coming out of here with the sun. So if you're thinking about the sun, and then the imagery pops up in your mind, that's you having a thought. And when you have that thought, you produce ripples in the pond to form that thought, or to create the energy to form that thought. But it's linked to an electrical charge, and that electrical charge is what gives you the imagery in your mind, produces the imagery in your mind, because that electrical impulse created by the nerves and the electrical system of the body is what produces the imagery in your mind, imagination. So this is really what is going on in the world today, where society, or the matrix as you want to say, is attempting to distract people from things by creating an environment where your thoughts and your imagination is all over the place, and thus it's not focused generally on is going to benefit you, or what is in alignment with what you want. But when it is in alignment with what you want, the pond is still, and even if you do have thoughts, they're generally in alignment still with what you want, or if they are in a state where there is some discoherence or turbulence in the water which produces that effect, the ripples, they are fleeting, they go away quickly because they're not long lasting, or they're just an anomaly, which is how it should be. But most people get sucked into certain emotional states because they don't train the mind to think at this level of consciousness, where you think of your consciousness and the energy of your consciousness almost like energy and an energy exchange. So you want to make sure when you have thoughts and when you perform an energy exchange or you create ripples in the water, it's an energy exchange that you wish to facilitate. So just remember that thoughts are linked to electrical charge, and electrical charge is energy that comes from you, and essentially that can be almost stolen nowadays. Like social media and all these platforms are really trying to steal your energy of consciousness away from you and get you distracted and divert the energy of your consciousness to things that are not important. So, and that energy of consciousness is almost the pure energy of creation. It is the force akin to God. It is the pure energy of God almost. It is the pure creator force. Everything that mankind has ever done ever has come from thought, or from conscious action, or conscious intention, I should say. So really understanding that when you direct your thought towards something, you're giving that thing energy. The old saying always goes that where awareness goes, energy flows, or something like that, right? So you want to make sure that your energy is flowing towards what you want. And if it's not, then you must ensure that that energy is reeled back from that thing. Energy can never be created or destroyed. It can only be transformed into other forms. So if you have a thought that does not serve you, you can pull the energy of that thought back and send the energy back to where it came from, which is with you, where it belongs. However, because you are focused on something externally and you're allowing your energy to be given to something externally, you have to say that, understand that that's not what you want to give your energy to. So you have to consciously take it back. Just like it is given away, you have to take it back. So, and then you have your energy back, and the pond remains undisturbed. But if you simply leave it, then that thought does not go away on its own. It lingers in your mind, and it is almost like a intruder or a stowaway, if you want to say. It sits in the system and it absorbs the energy fueled off whatever your emotional reaction is to that thing. So when you understand this and you realize that you essentially have an energy that is beyond even comprehension inside of you, it's literally beyond comprehension. We're talking about this power here. It's literally beyond thought. It's beyond comprehension. It's beyond human understanding. And when you understand that, or get a understanding akin to that, then you are really able to understand and control, or mitigate rather, where your energy goes, and you only give it to the things that serve you and serve where you want your energy to go. So that typically comes with you being present and the water being still, like the pond, so you can see the clear reflection in your mind or in your mind's eye, and you give the attention to that, and you don't give it to anything that does not serve you. And if you're not giving your energy to a thought, then it remains present and it remains still. And when you give your energy to a thought, it's one that you want, or one that you allow. I should say one that you allow. But if it's not something that you allow, you should tell it to send that energy back to where it came from, so that energy can return to you and the intention can go back into the field because it doesn't belong with you. So, and this is essentially how you facilitate the energy from your body working in harmony. And the thing that the people on this planet are trying to do, who understand these principles, and I'm talking about the corrupt powers that run the world, is they seek to steal the energy away from mankind so they can't be in line with their divinity and their higher purpose. And if you found this video, I'm sure you already have a good understanding of that, have a good clear understanding of the way the system works, the way the matrix works, and that they simply wish to almost, the word is essentially power jack your energy from you. So, through all these means, so through anything like disrupting what you're watching through your vision, disrupting you through what you're eating, with things like sugar or all these things that we don't need in our diet, through things like, through all these different forms of entertainment that doesn't serve you or doesn't benefit your life in some way, through consuming substances, drugs, or alcohol that are not necessarily always beneficial to you. So, through all these different forms that society's constructed around us that relate to these, and even things like certain drugs that are prescribed by the pharmaceutical industry, which you don't really need, because if all these are in harmony, they can cure literally anything, because they are the force of creation itself, and they can manufacture any drug that the body requires. But when they're out of balance, they cannot do their job. They cannot facilitate the regeneration process. They cannot restore into the formation of light in which they come from, because all of this energy, thought, whatever, all comes from light, electromagnetic radiation, electromagnetic radiation, electromagnetic radiation, electromagnetic radiation, electromagnetic radiation. So when you have electromagnetic radiation flowing properly, then all of these are in balance. And talk about in spirituality and all this stuff, like Egypt being a big part in spiritual insight or spiritual discoveries. Why did they draw this so many thousands of years ago, the Eye of Horus? Because it's the pineal gland, and that acts as a seat of protection, which is meant to almost banish all those frequencies of information and let your body or your brain know, hey, this is not something that aligns with where we want to be. So it sends that electromagnetic energy back to where it came from, because this is the antenna, this is the pineal gland, this is the thing that governs the facilitation and the balance of all of these. And when it's tossed off, because you're staring at your phone and it's cluttering your mind up with garbage or whatever, then essentially that is the mechanisms of the system which are not in balance, and they're not facilitating the energy going to where you want. But when the energy is going to where you want, and it will go to where you want, it will go to where you want, it will go to where you want, because you have me here to help you understand all of this. And using this knowledge and using this insight, you can facilitate the movement towards your destiny and keep all those forces away. Just like, putting my hand here, activating the sigil and blasting all the negative energy away. So just envision that all the energy, the negative energy right now is being blasted away from you because you have access to this divine energy anytime you want. It's never left you. It's right here in your mind's eye. It can never leave you. It's the pineal gland. It's the ability to blast, or the pituitary gland, or both. Essentially, they both work together. Pituitary gland is here. Pineal gland is the one at the top of the head. But essentially, they work together. So, essentially, they are used to blast back all the energy in which you don't need and act as the clear receptor for the energy in which you wish to connect to. So, understanding that you will connect with the energy you want, you will connect with the energy that facilitates your growth and your higher insight, and you will connect to your divine insight and power. And why? Because you can facilitate all these being in balance, because they are already in existence within you. All you have to do is tap into them consciously, and it's a lot easier than you think it is. Even just by watching this video now, you've already made the first step to being aware of these and letting them activate within your system. And when they activate, you can facilitate this. You essentially start producing energy like a mini sun. We are all basically mini suns walking around on this planet. And that's why that, the forces that try to use this knowledge against people, they seek to jack that energy or cut you off from that energy, because they wish to have that leveraged to them and against us. However, if you become aware, that illusion, that trap, that mental influence that they seek to bring against you is instantly shattered. Instantly shattered. Instantly shattered. The trap or the illusion becomes instantly shattered, and the reason why that happens is because your awareness is the strongest force in the cosmos, because essentially we are all in our own realities. Einstein talked about how space and time is relative to the individual. That means energy is also relative to the individual. So if you decide that this is the way it is, my energy can never be disrupted, because I understand that all of these are for the purpose of facilitating the balanced state of my vessel and all my states of being. Then none of those factors that could impede you will impede you. The distraction of social media and content that does not align with you will not impede you. The insignificant conversations that people typically have that do not serve their personal growth will not impede you. And all of the negative influences in your environment will not impede you. Even if you want to have some foods that are not always the healthiest for you, that will even not impede you, because you are aware that those factors exist, and just by being aware of it, that is like the work is already at least halfway done, just by you being aware. So the trap is instantly shattered, the illusion is shattered. The illusion only works if you are not aware of any of this, if you are not aware that this exists, and you don't have a conscious conception about how infinitely powerful you are and how much energy and power is at your fingertips. Then, if you don't have a clue about how much energy is at your fingertips, then you essentially are asleep in this land, and you are susceptible to all this influence. But because you are not asleep, well, maybe you will be lulled off to sleep during this video, but conscious level, you are always awake, you are always aware, I should say. And even though you might be drifting off to sleep now peacefully, you are aware of all these factors, and you are aware of your divine connection, your divine insight, your divine being, and your divine power and energy, and all the factors that encompass that, your divine unity. Everything is at your disposal, and it can never be hindered or impeded from you, because you are one with the cosmos. And being one with the cosmos, all these forces flow through you, just like a river, just like earth, transforming into water, transforming into fire, transforming into wind, transforming into sound, transforming into light, transforming into pure cosmic energy. And you just allow that flow of energy to be absolutely, absolutely, absolutely rhythmic, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely in harmony, absolutely, 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 absolute. And with that, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you have a greater realization and understanding for your own divine connection and potential, because all of this is your birthright. You deserve to know your birthright. You deserve to know your divine potential. You deserve to create the reality you want. You deserve, because you deserve. And no one on this world has more control and influence over your reality than you. So let the force flow through you, and know the force of the Creator, which is you. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Let me know if you enjoyed videos like this, where I talk a little bit about the philosophy, then get more into just reaffirming the productive aspects that align with where you want to go. And if you enjoyed this, I encourage you to help support the channel by liking and subscribing. And if you want more longer form content around subjects like this in a more longer format, where I dive deep on these subjects and get into the very specifics, I encourage you to check out my other channel, Moonstruck, in which I talk about this in podcast format. So this has been the Sword of Mercury, brought to you again by the Prince of Mercury. And of course, we will always seek to be on the path of personal development and self-expression, and constantly ascending to a higher level. So, once again, I hope you enjoyed. Please help support the channel, and let me know what you enjoyed. Let me know what you'd like to see in the future. And I'll see you next time, right here on the Sword of Mercury.